That's where we begin our look at today's top stories. In an exclusive interview with 60 Minutes, Norah O'Donnell asked the president about his call to end the filibuster, and Mr. Trump doubled down.
But you know what? The Republicans have to get tougher. If we end the filibuster, we can do exactly what we want. We're not going to lose power. The theory is, then we'll do it. But then when they get into power someday, they'll do it. That's true. But you know what?
So you think
we're here right now.
Food assistance funding is supposed to be distributed today, despite the White House saying it actually would not because of the government shutdown. You see, 2 federal judges ruled Friday the Trump administration has to dip into a contingency fund to make this happen. In a social media post, the president said he asked his lawyers to get clarification from the court about how to legally fund SNAP benefits. And the transportation secretary says the shutdown's impact on the nation's airports is going to get worse. On Face the Nation, Sean Duffy said the government will stop air traffic to avoid safety issues. And new CBS News polling shows more Americans are feeling uneasy about the shutdown's economic impact.
Okay, buckle up, because what I'm about to tell you, what just happened in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, this is the kind of bombshell that changes everything. And I mean everything. Trump just lost again. But this time, it's not just another court case. This time, the courts are about to blow the lid off the entire operation, the whole scheme, every dirty little secret about how this administration has been firing people for one reason and one reason only: loyalty, not competence, not performance, not whether you're good at your job. Loyalty, pure and simple. And now, because Trump's legal team just lost their final appeal, all of it is about to come out. The internal documents, the planning memos, the lists of who gets fired and why, everything. Can you believe this? The Ninth Circuit, the full circuit, just denied Trump's request for an unbanked rehearing. That's legal speak for we're not going to reconsider. The panel decision stands. You lose. Game over.
Well, here's where things stand, Errol. There are not one but 2 federal courts who have said just in the past couple of days that the administration has to make these payments and that it has to use contingency funds in order to do it, so that there is no lapse in the SNAP benefits that go to 42 million households. The court said, oh, no, you can, and you need to do it right away. So yesterday, on a couple of the Sunday shows, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that they are going to try to do it, that it could happen by Wednesday. He wasn't definitive, but he said that the president doesn't want these benefits to lapse, and Democrats say they don't want them to lapse.
And what does that mean practically? It means the Department of Justice, Trump's own DOJ, is now legally required to hand over internal documents to the unions who sued. Documents about something called agency RAFE and reorganization plans, ARRPs. That's the bureaucratic term for mass layoffs, mass firings, restructuring entire federal agencies. These documents are going to show exactly what Trump has been doing behind closed doors. They're going to show how he's been using something called Schedule F to convert career civil servants into at-will employees. Employees who can be fired for any reason or no reason, or let's be honest, for the real reason, because they weren't loyal enough. This is huge. This is absolutely huge. Trump went to True Social right after the ruling dropped. Of course he did. And you know what he said? He said the courts are protecting deep state jobs. Deep state jobs. That's his defense now. Anyone who works for the federal government and isn't blindly loyal to him, they're deep state, they deserve to be fired. Come on, are you kidding me? We're talking about career professionals, scientists, lawyers, inspectors general, people who have dedicated their lives to public service, people who have served under Republican and Democratic presidents alike. And Trump wants to fire them all because they won't swear personal loyalty to him. And now, because of this court ruling, we're going to see the proof. We're going to see the actual documents that show how this purge was planned, who was targeted, why they were targeted, the whole thing. Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. Crew, they've been tracking this. They've documented at least 56 illegal firings. 56. And that's just what they've been able to confirm publicly. The real number is probably much higher. We're talking about watchdogs who were investigating administration wrongdoing. We're talking about inspectors general whose job is to root out corruption. We're talking about members of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, military leaders, people who have served this country for decades, all fired, all purged, all because they wouldn't kiss the ring. And here's what makes this ruling so devastating for Trump. The Supreme Court actually looked at this issue back in July. They issued a stay that preserved Trump's executive order, the one that created Schedule F in the first place. But, and this is critical, the stay specifically allowed courts to review individual agency plans, the specific implementation, the actual documents showing how agencies were using Schedule F to conduct these purges. So Trump's lawyers tried to argue, you can't make us turn over these documents. They're protected. deliberative privilege, executive privilege, all the usual excuses. And the Ninth Circuit said, no, that's not how this works. The Supreme Court already said these specific plans can be reviewed. You don't get to hide behind privilege anymore. Hand over the documents. This is Trump's worst nightmare. It really is, because he's been able to conduct this purge in secret behind closed doors without anyone seeing the actual evidence of what he's doing. But now the curtain is about to be pulled back. The unions are going to get these documents. They're going to go through every page, every memo, every email, and then they're going to show the world exactly how this administration has been conducting illegal loyalty purges across the federal government. And the timing couldn't be worse for Trump, because this is all happening at the same time as everything else. The Supreme Court just ruled against him on the National Guard. Congress is demanding his indictment. His own cabinet members are reportedly flipping and cooperating with investigators. He just had a complete meltdown in a New York courtroom. And now this evidence of systematic illegal firings about to be dumped into the public record. Evidence that's going to become Exhibit A in the abuse of power case against him. The walls aren't just closing in anymore, they've collapsed. And buried underneath all that rubble is the truth about what Trump has been doing to the federal government. So let's break down exactly what this ruling means, what's in these documents, and why this could be the final nail in the coffin. All right, let's really dig into this, because there's a lot of legal complexity here, and I want to make sure you understand exactly what's happening and why it matters so much. So the case started back in 2025. Federal employee unions sued the Trump administration over mass layoffs. They argued that the administration was using a policy called Schedule F to illegally fire career civil servants, not for performance reasons, not for budget reasons, for political reasons, for loyalty reasons. Now, what is Schedule F? Let me explain, because this is really the key to understanding everything. Normally, federal employees have civil service protections. You can't just fire them because you don't like them. You can't fire them because they didn't vote for you. You can't fire them because they raised concerns about something illegal. There's a whole process. There are protections. It's been this way for over 100 years, ever since we got rid of the old spoil system where every new president would fire everyone and replace them with their cronies. But Trump, being Trump, didn't like that. He wanted to be able to fire anyone he wanted. So during his first term, right before he left office, he created Schedule F. It was an executive order that reclassified certain federal employees. It took people in policy-related positions and stripped away their civil service protections, made them at-will employees, fireable for any reason. Biden got rid of it on day one of his administration. But when Trump came back, he brought it back too. Bigger and more aggressive than before. And that's when the purges started. Career scientists at agencies like the EPA and NIH fired. Lawyers at the Justice Department who had worked on cases against Trump allies fired. Inspectors general whose job is to investigate waste and fraud and abuse fired. Military leaders who had pushed back on illegal orders fired or forced into retirement. The unions started documenting all of this. They filed lawsuits. They demanded to see the internal documents, the planning memos, the lists of who was being targeted and why. And Trump's lawyers fought them every step of the way. They claimed deliberative privilege. They said these were internal policy discussions that were protected from disclosure. They said releasing the documents would chill future deliberations, the usual arguments. But the courts weren't buying it, weren't. A three-judge panel at the Ninth Circuit ruled that the unions were entitled to discovery. That means the administration had to turn over the documents. The court said the privilege claims didn't apply here, especially given the evidence that the firings were pretextual, that they were really about loyalty, not about legitimate policy reasons. Trump's team appealed. They asked for en banc review, which means they wanted the full circuit to reconsider all the judges, not just a three-judge panel. And that's what just got denied. The full Ninth Circuit said, no, we're not going to rehear this. The panel decision stands. Turn over the documents. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Remember that Supreme Court stay from July? That's actually what doomed Trump's appeal. See, when the Supreme Court issued that stay, they were careful about what they were preserving and what they were allowing. They kept Trump's executive order in place. They said Schedule F could continue to exist as a policy. But, and this is crucial, they specifically said that courts could review the individual agency implementation plans, the ARPs, the actual documents showing how agencies were putting Schedule F into practice. So when Trump's lawyers argued to the Ninth Circuit that the documents were protected, the court basically said, the Supreme Court already told us we can look at these. You're citing a ruling that actually supports the unions, not you. That's legal malpractice level bad. Trump's own legal team missed this, or maybe they were hoping the Ninth Circuit would miss it too. Either way, they got caught and now they have to hand everything over. What's in these documents based on what's already been reported? It's damning. The ARPs, the agency RF, and reorganization plans apparently show systematic targeting of employees based on perceived loyalty, not job performance, not budget constraints. Loyalty. There are reportedly lists actual lists of employees who were flagged for removal based on things like whether they had worked on cases involving Trump during his first term, whether they had donated to Democratic candidates, whether they had raised concerns about administration policies internally. That's not how civil service is supposed to work. That's not reorganization. That's a purge. That's exactly what the civil service system was designed to prevent. And here's where it connects to everything else that's happening. Remember, the cabinet officials who have reportedly been flipping, cooperating with investigators, Pete Hegseth at Defense, Scott Bessent at Treasury. There are reports they've been testifying about illegal orders, about pressure to fire people for political reasons, about retribution against employees who raise concerns. Well, these documents are going to corroborate that testimony. They're going to show that what Hegseth and Bessent allegedly described wasn't just isolated incidents. It was systematic. It was planned. It was written down in official agency documents. That's incredibly damaging because it's not just he said, she said anymore. It's documentary evidence. It's the administration's own words proving what they were doing. And crew, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, they've been tracking this for months. They've documented 56 firings that appear to be illegal, 56 confirmed cases of employees being terminated in violation of civil service law. That includes multiple inspectors general, the people whose job is literally to investigate government wrongdoing. Trump fired them because they were investigating his administration. That's obstruction. That's abuse of power. And now there's going to be documentary evidence proving it. It includes members of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, senior military leaders, people who have served this country for 30, 40 years, fired or forced out because they wouldn't go along with illegal orders because they took their oath to the Constitution seriously. All of this is about to become public. The unions are going to get these documents. They're going to file them in court. They're going to make them part of the public record. And then everyone is going to see exactly what this administration has been doing. The timing is devastating for Trump. Absolutely devastating. The House is already moving toward impeachment. There's a resolution with 225 signatures calling for his indictment. 50 Republicans. The special counsel is reportedly convening grand juries. The Supreme Court just ruled against him on the National Guard. And now, right as all of that is happening, documentary evidence of systematic illegal purges is about to drop. Evidence showing abuse of power, evidence showing retaliation, evidence showing exactly what Trump's critics have been saying all along. This is Exhibit A. This is the smoking gun. This is the proof that ties everything together. And Trump knows it. You can tell by how he's reacting. The Truth Social posts are getting more unhinged by the day. Deep state this witch hunt, the courts protecting corrupt bureaucrats. The same tired deflections he always uses when he's cornered. But the deflections aren't working anymore because the evidence is coming, the documents are coming, and there's nothing he can do to stop it. All right, let's break this down into what it actually means because there's a lot happening, and I want to make sure you understand every single piece of it. Point number one, this was Trump's last chance to stop the documents from coming out. On bank review was the final option at the circuit level. He asked the full Ninth Circuit to reconsider. They said, no, that's it. There's nowhere else to go except the Supreme Court. And here's the thing. The Supreme Court already weighed in on this. Their July stay specifically allowed this kind of discovery. So even if Trump tries to appeal to the Supreme Court now, he's going to lose. The court already said these documents can be reviewed. This is over. The documents are coming out. There's no more legal maneuvers, no more delays, no more hiding behind privilege claims. The unions won. Trump lost. Point number two. The documents are going to prove systematic abuse. This isn't about one or two questionable firings. This is about a coordinated campaign across multiple agencies to purge employees based on loyalty. The ARRPs, the agency RAF, and reorganization plans are internal planning documents. They show who made the decisions. They show what criteria were used. They show who was targeted and why. And based on everything that's been reported, these documents are going to show that employees were flagged for removal based on political considerations, not performance, not budget, politics, loyalty, whether they were sufficiently devoted to Trump personally. That's illegal. Full stop. The civil service system exists specifically to prevent this kind of abuse, and the documents are going to prove it was happening systematically. Point number three, this corroborates the testimony from flipping cabinet members. The reports about Hegseth and Bessent and other cabinet officials cooperating with investigators, those reports suggested they were testifying about illegal orders, about pressure to fire people for political reasons, about retribution. Well, now there's going to be documentary evidence backing that up. The documents are going to show exactly what these witnesses have been describing. It's going to prove their testimony was accurate. That's huge for any potential prosecution. Witness testimony is one thing. Documentary evidence is another. When you have both, when you have witnesses saying one thing and documents proving the same thing, that's an airtight case. Point number four, the timing amplifies everything else that's happening. Look at where we are right now. The Supreme Court ruled against Trump on the National Guard. Congress is demanding his indictment. He just had a meltdown in a New York courtroom. His properties are being seized. He's being threatened with jail for contempt. And now, on top of all that, Evidence of systematic illegal purges is about to become public. This isn't happening in isolation. This is happening as part of a cascading series of legal disasters.